Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 13, which was titled Silence and Loneliness. So the episode opens with Grace watching a younger version of herself running away from something on the Greenleaf estate. And so Uncle Mike walks up to her saying that she can't hear you. So Grace replies back to him, I didn't say anything. And then he was like, good girl. So it was kind of weird. So Grace then wakes up from the nightmare and she's sweating and carrying on, looking around, like what the hell just happened. So later on, Grace sees Sophia and asks her about the cotillion. And Sophia tells Grace that her dad can't come because he is too busy. So Sophia then asks about Darius, like maybe he could escort her. And then Grace lets her know that they are taking a break from each other. So Sophia gives her some sound advice and tells her the best way to be in a relationship is to actually be in one. So you can't keep even Sophia see how confused Grace is and how she's treating Darius when all he won't do is be the man in her life. Grace and Lady May are meeting with a lady named Miss Esther, who is in a retirement home, and so they're making conversation with her, and Miss Esther lets Grace know that the last nursing aide that she had treated her real bad, and she went and told management about the way they were treating her and that the former aide was fired. And so the conversation seems to have inspired her. And then she tells Grace, you can't just let somebody treat you any kind of way, and not say anything. So then later on, Lady May is meeting with the secretary at the church, and they're going over notes. And she's told that Bishop Jeffries, remember that's Aaron's dad, had left a message. I guess he's going to be coming back into the picture. And I still think that, what's his name, Lionel Jeffries, I think that him and Lady May had an affair. I think that's what is going to come out, because what is the purpose of them bringing this man back on the show? I thought that was going to come out when they first brought him on, but then that was to get Aaron on the show. But now Aaron has gone back home, so why Bishop Jeffries trying to come back on the scene? So then Grace stopped by, to help her mom out, with planning some program that she has going on. And so Lady May lets her know that, she doesn't want to end up in a retirement home. And she was like, don't quote me, but I hope I go fast and before your father goes. And I'm like, Lord. So then Lady May reveals to Grace, her fear of having to end up in a place where Miss Esther lives, having to give up her current lifestyle, her freedom, and all her greatness. Later on, Grace is out by the lake where Faith passed away, and she walks around and stumbles upon a path. And so while she's walking on the path, she sees an entrance to a mine shaft, and so she hears Uncle Max's voice again. So he says, you're going to have to take that little secret to the grave. And so I'm like, oh, dang. So Uncle Mac really is going to hunt Grace until something breaks. Either she gonna tell the truth about what happened, or she's gonna ask him for forgiveness. So Darius and Grace later on they're talking, and Grace feels comfortable enough to explain her secret to him, because if you remember on the last episode, he told Grace that the reason he doesn't go to church is because his wife passed away, and he didn't like the way that the preacher basically was telling him, pray about it and get over it. So she tells Darius, that Uncle Mac had tried to molest her when she was a child, and then she tells a story about how she went to see a Civil War relic on the Greenleaf property and ended up fighting Uncle Mike off, her before, he got too far. And then, she was like, what's awful is that I never told anyone. So I'm thinking she kind of feels guilty that she didn't say anything, because maybe that could have brought, shed light on what was happening to Faith. So she feels guilty, and she never said anything, and feels that her sister would still be alive, if she had done otherwise. So she begins to cry, but Darius consoles her, letting her know that she's doing the right thing, by opening up to him. Once again, Grace is out running and she ends up by the lake where Faith drowned. And, she doesn't hear Uncle Mike, talking in the background or anything. And so then she runs down, to the mine shaft, and then she starts to smile, because she can still no longer hear Uncle Mike. So I'm thinking that Grace believes that because she opened up to Darius about what happened, that was the secret that Uncle Mike was talking about. But I got a feeling that the secret Uncle Mike is talking about is the fact that she let him lay on that floor and bleed to death. So then we move over to Carissa. So Carissa shows Bishop Greenleaf and Lady May the evidence that she has on Basie Skanks, and showing that he's been embezzling money from the church, and he apparently uses the alias Bass Reeves to assist with the scheme. And I think she got the information from the accountant at the church. I may have walked out the room when it was revealed, but somehow I heard the word accountant come up. So Bishop Greenleaf and Lady May, they're shocked to learn that, this is actually happening and at the magnitude that is happening. And then Lady May talking about, this is an unholy mess. Just like, everything y'all do is unholy, Lady May. So how you going to be putting levels on the unholiness? So Bishop Greenleaf says that he is going to use the evidence to get Basie to resign from the church, and Carissa wants to know, she wants to make sure that Bishop Greenleaf also demands that Basie pass the church to Jacob, and Bishop Greenleaf and Lady May, they agree that that's a good idea, but not for the reason that Carissa thinks is a good idea. And Carissa leaves, Lady May asks, so Triumph will become Calvary too, right? So I'm like, y'all some backstabbing devils over there. And then Bishop Greenleaf is like, in due time, Lady May, in due time. I was like, See, Carissa, this is why you can't be getting into bed with the devil, because them people got years and years and years of experience on you, and you just ain't ready to tangle with them. So Bishop Greenleaf stops by Basie's office to confront him about the embezzling. And so he tells Basie that he knows about him stealing the church money and his gambling issue. So when he tries to blackmail Basie, demanding that he resign and leave Jacob in charge, Basie calls his bluff and kicks him out of his church. Just like, Basie too gangster for you, Bishop Greenleaf. So then later on, Basie's in his office and he's on the phone when the guy Victor, remember the goon, the loan shark who Basie owe all his money to, he comes back, and so Basie gets off the phone and he's like, Victor, my man, I was just about to call you. And next thing we know, Victor beat Basie behind because we go to a scene where Tasha has come to the office and she's like, oh my God, and she's dabbling on his wounds and cuts and his black eye and all this stuff because the man had done whooped his behind. So as it turned out, the guy wasn't giving him any more time, and so since he failed to pay the money back, Victor beat him up. And so I think Victor still wants his money, and it's probably going to get worse the longer it takes Basie to pay him back. Of course, Tasha's all upset and she's crying, and she's also very angry with Basie, for letting the gambling get that bad. And, she tells Basie that, he needs to listen to Bishop Greenleaf and turn himself in. And I don't know why Tasha's so shocked, because, gambling is a serious addiction. And what happens with people that get caught up in gambling is that they're winning. And then when they lose, they don't know when to stop, because they done won so much that they think, I'm just having a bad night. I'll keep playing and win some more money to pay off this debt and get back on the road. But usually when you start losing, you continue to lose, and you can never make that money up. Most likely because when you were winning, you weren't saving that money or storing that money and putting it aside for the day when you would lose. So you're just always behind, and it's just never a good look. And then when you start borrowing money to gamble, then it really becomes an issue. So later on, Bishop Greenleaf is over at Jacob's house, and him and Carissa are talking. And so he's telling her, about Basie, and that, he didn't fall for it, when he went to his office and told him, what his demands were. So Carissa is concerned, about Jacob getting to church, and Bishop Greenleaf assures her that it'll happen, that they just got to figure something else out. So while they are having their little chat, lo and behold, Tasha comes over. So Tasha, of all the people that you could have went to bury your soul, why did you choose Carissa, who don't even like you? Well, I guess y'all did kind of like a tone when you told her she was highfalutin and brought her down a few notches and came and fixed that electricity for her. But anyway, so she runs in and she tells them, you know, that Basie got beat up, you know, and that he owes more money than they think that he owes. And so Bishop Greenleaf takes Tasha back to Triumph, and he sees Basie, you know, beaten and bloodied. And so Basie asks Tasha, you know, why did she go and get the Greenleafs involved in his personal business? And so Bishop Greenleaf, you know, he steps in and he says, why would you put your wife in that position to begin with? So then Bishop Greenleaf, you know, demands that Basie goes to the police and turn himself in. Then Bishop Greenleaf also lets him know that he can do it his own way and in his own time, you know, if he promises to hand over the church to Jacob. So Basie, you know, still doesn't like the idea, you know, but Tasha is done with the situation and wants Basie to go along with it, you know, so they can get themselves out of this mess. And she's begging, you know, baby, please, 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 just do what he says, you know, listen to him, please, do it for us, do it for me. You know, we got to get out of this situation because it ain't getting no better. So Basie finally agrees and says that he will retire that upcoming Sunday and that, you know, he needs to talk to the elder board and, you know, hand the church over to Jacob. And, you know, I guess they need to be in agreement also. So Carissa and Jacob are having an argument, you know, about her running her mouth when Basie calls and tells Jacob that he wants to give the church to him after, you know, the whole situation with Victor. So Jacob declines the offer, you know, but Basie isn't ready to give up. And Basie, you know, basically tells him that, you know, running Triumph and keeping Triumph going is bigger than the both of them, you know, and it's God's will that Jacob be in charge. He tells Jacob, you know, I realize I failed my flock, you know, and I put the church in danger, you know, but you can come in and right the ship and keep things going and, you know, we don't lose everything. So Jacob meets with Basie in the over at Triumph, and Jacob is still apprehensive about taking Basie's offer, but Basie encourages him to take the church and combine it with his real church of Memphis that he started, you know, out in the lot ministry. So he's like, all the reasons why you shouldn't are all the reasons why you should, you know. So Jacob, you know, he gets to thinking about it, and Basie continues, you know, with his talk and how he can just charm the skin off a snake, and so that eventually Jacob takes the offer. Meanwhile, Lady Mae and Bishop Greenleaf are meeting, you know, and they're talking about Basie and the whole situation, and that, you know, it better be a done deal. So Bishop Greenleaf says that, you know, he will turn Basie in to the police after the Sunday service. And Lady Mae also brings up that she hopes that this whole ordeal brings an end to the guilt that Bishop Greenleaf was feeling, you know, for accidentally killing Basie's dad in the basement of that in the basement of the old church. Remember when they burnt the church down for the insurance money? So Bishop Greenleaf, you know, says that this conclusion will close that whole story, and, you know, Lady Mae is like, well, you know, don't be so sure about it. So maybe Lady Mae knows something we don't know. So then later on, Lady Mae called Darius and invited him over. So maybe she gonna spill the tea about Basie and the embezzlement, and then get Darius to write an article. Back at home, Jacob tells Carissa that, you know, he's going to be taking over the church and that Basie's going to make the announcement during the Sunday service. So of course Carissa, you know, she's all excited and everything, and she thanks Jacob, you know, for accepting the offer. And then he asks Carissa to pray that they won't mess the church up like, you know, Basie did, and that they'll remain obedient to God and don't get the big head. But Jacob, I think that's going to be a problem because Carissa is a mini version of your mama, Lady Mae. So she that already went behind your back, conniving and carried on. So I can see Carissa getting the real big head and just being hell to deal with. So now it's Sunday, and Bishop Greenleaf asked Sophia if she's ready, you know, for Sunday school. And, you know, she lets him know that she is, and then he tells her, you know, that he's going over to Triumph because Jacob's going to be installed as the new pastor. But then he offers to escort her at the cotillion, and of course that made Sophia very happy. And then go over to Triumph, and Basie's, you know, he's speaking to his congregation, letting them know that he is stepping down, and he also lets them know that Jacob is taking over and that they will be left in great hands. And so, after his little speech, where he says that, I've sinned against God and sinned against the church, and I let you all down, and, I'm ashamed of myself and all of that good stuff, his Jerry Falwell speech. He introduces Jacob to the congregation. And so, once again, we got that slow clap. And then people start looking around and see who else is clapping. And he's, oh, come on, y'all can do better than that. Then everybody start clapping and, cheering for Jacob. So I hope Jacob does good. But I think that Carissa, he might have to get rid of Carissa because I just know she going to turn out to be a mess. So afterwards, after the church service, Bishop Greenleaf goes to Basie's office. And Tasha is there. So Tasha tells him that Basie ran off. I'm like, what kind of foolishness is that? Well, I really didn't expect Basie to turn himself into the police, but I didn't expect him to abandon his wife. And so then Bishop Greenleaf asked Tasha why she didn't go with him. And Tasha said, she didn't want to go. She tired of running. She tired of playing games with God, and that she just, want to be free of the whole situation. And so then somebody comes to the door. I think it might have been the receptionist, and she tells Tasha that, everybody's ready. So Tasha had planned a reception after service, I guess, to introduce Jacob. And so now she was going to go ahead and do that and have the reception and let the people know that Basie had been rolled out on them. So then we go over to Miss Zora. So Isaiah is driving with Zora in the passenger seat, and she's talking about her cotillion suit, and but he brushes her off, and he's not really interested in going. And then he tells her that he has these concert tickets, which is the same night. So I guess the fool thought that she was gonna go to the concert with him and not to the cotillion. And so Zora tells Isaiah that, she doesn't want to go to the concert. She'd rather be in the cotillion, that this is something that's really important to them. And so Isaiah then asks her, who she'll take instead of him. And she replies, I'll find somebody. So the whole while they were talking, he had been on her about not wearing the seatbelt correctly, because I guess she had the seatbelt like under her arm. And so he kept telling her, put the seatbelt on right so it goes across your chest. So when she said that she'll find somebody else, he got up in his feelings and he slammed on the brakes, which caused Zora to fall forward, and she bumped her head. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then he tried to blame it on the fact, that she wasn't wearing the seatbelt. He was like, see, I keep telling you, wear the seatbelt right, and that wouldn't have happened. And I'm like, boy, you just a little too young to be. His daddy must be abusive to his mom, and that's where he's learning these skills at. Because I'm thinking 16 years old, you shouldn't be that advanced in your physical abuse. So then Zora, of course, Zora was upset. He had her, she embarrassed, and now she thinking her boyfriend crazy, which she should have already known. So she tells him, take me home now. So when she gets home, Carissa and Jacob, that's what they were arguing about, Carissa running her mouth. And so Zora, she covers the knot on her head and sneaks by them, and then she goes back into the bathroom. And I thought it was so sad because she was looking at the knot on her forehead in the mirror, and then she pulled out her makeup and started covering up. And I'm just like, girl, you are too young to be nobody should be in an abusive relationship, but at 16 you should already know the little methods and techniques to cover up the abuse. That's just crazy. And Jacob and Carissa, you around here worrying about the church and being the first lady. You need to be focused on your daughter. And I think Jacob told you that in the last episode, that you need to reprioritize what's important to you. So hopefully Zora will come to her senses and she will tell somebody that she's being abused. Hopefully she'll tell Sophia, and Sophia will get her to leave that boy alone and get her some counseling. Last we have Miss Charity. So Charity is in Nashville with Jabari, and so he wants to work on the track. And as he leaves to book her a hotel room, Charity's like, oh, I could just stay at your place. Don't you have a guest room? So he was like, yeah, I do, but this is for the best. I want you to have your privacy. So back at the studio, Charity and Jabari are playing a track that she made for one of his artists. And so the lady really loved the track, and I think they said her name was Jacqueline. It may be Jacqueline, but they spelling it kind of funky. So people on social media seem to have known who the lady was. I had no idea who she was. So anyway, she loved the track, but she felt that it needed more work, and so she wanted to tweak it. And then you could tell that Charity, you know, and it's just something about creative people, because I'm a creative person, that it's kind of hard, like when you don't put your heart and soul in something, then somebody come along and say, oh, you need to change that, or you need to move this around. It's kind of hard to accept that critique, you know. But I think Charity issue is more so that she's jealous because of the way that Jabari was interacting with the woman, and it's probably in her mind that he probably sleeping with the lady, and that's why he doesn't want her. So as they're wrapping up in the studio, you know, Charity and Jabari are invited out to eat by the lady. And so Charity, you know, she seems to be disappointed, you know, in how things went with her. And, you know, she's really frustrated with the mixed signals that she's getting from Jabari. So remember back in the day when we used to write the little note that says, do you like me? Check yes or no. Well, that's probably what Charity wanted to do, but her feelings got the best of her. She just blurted it out, and she's like, do you like me? She's like, Charity, now you're looking desperate. So Jabari tells her, you know, that he does like her, you know, and that they'll talk about it later. So then when they get alone, Charity and Jabari, you know, they're in the studio talking, and Jabari, you know, takes the time to answer her question. And he says that he does like her, but, you know, she has a lot going on right now, and that he just wants to give her time, you know, with the baby. You know, he doesn't want to be taking her away from her baby, you know, then Kevin running off and leaving. So he just wants her to, you know, and the whole thing with Grace. So they got a lot going on, so he just wants her to have a clear mind before he pursues anything with her. And I'm still not convinced that Jabari is straight. Like, he may see in Charity the same thing that Kevin saw in her, or he may just be a manhole. But I just don't see this whole thing with Jabari and Charity working out too well. So after he explains all that to her, you know, she relaxes a little bit, you know, the two have a kiss. I was like, all right now, Miss Charity, you better slow your roll before you end up in a similar situation than what you just got out of. So the show ends with Bishop Greenleaf getting a phone call from Bishop Jeffries, and he says that he needs to talk to him about something, and it needs to be in person. And so then he turns and tells Lady May, and she has this concerned look on her face like, God dog it, like I thought that secret was going to stay in the past. So we'll finally find out what transpired with Lady May and Bishop Jeffries, or what in the world is going on. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed the recap. Let me know what you thought about the show. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel, and I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.